Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala Rasulil Kareem. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Following on from what I was saying the other day about the strength of one's source, one thing one has to be careful of is that history is usually written by the victors in war. And so as such it can't really be called history, but it's the victor's version of history. And this is a theme that has been touched on by both Tolstoy in War and Peace, and also Ibn Khaldun, the Arab historian Ibn Khaldun, in his Muqaddimah, in his introduction to history. So one example of this is the treatment that the governor of Iraq under the Umayyad dynasty, which followed on from the time of the Holy Prophet. First of all, there was the Khulafai Rashidin, the four rightly guided caliphs, and then there was the Umayyad dynasty, and then there was the Abbasid dynasty. So the Abbasid dynasty, it was there in their interests to denigrate, in particular, the Al-Hajjaj bin Yusuf, who was the governor of Iraq, and the headquarters of the Abbasid Caliphate was, of course, in Baghdad. So it was they, for whatever reason, they considered it to be in their interest to denigrate Al-Hajjaj, who was the Umayyad, famous Umayyad governor in Iraq during the time of the Umayyad dynasty. So an example of this you can find in a story in the 1001 Nights. So one should remember that the 1001 Nights was written during the was collected. The stories of the 1001 Nights were collected during the time of the Abbasid Caliphate. So in one story, which is about Hind, binti Numan, so hearing about her beauty, the beauty of Hind binti Numan, Al-Hajjaj bin Yusuf wanted to marry her, and so he proposed to her, and he was able to marry her, and he gave her a substantial dowry, mahad, and they spent some time together. And one day in her bedroom, looking at herself in the mirror, Hind bint Numan was overheard by Hajjaj saying, reciting this poem: Hind is an Arab filly purest bred, which hath been covered by a mongrel mule. So she's obviously referring to Al-Hajjaj bin Yusuf as a mongrel mule. So obviously he became insulted, and he became he was insulted, and he decided to divorce Hind bint Numan, and so he gave her her dowry back and sent her on her way. And anyway, after that, she was proposed to by the Caliph himself. The Caliph in Damascus, the Umayyad headquarters was in Damascus, and so the Caliph himself, Abdul Malik bin Marwan, proposed to her, and she replied saying that the vase, referring to herself, has been licked by a dog. And anyway, that wasn't a problem for Abdul Malik bin Marwan. He replied by quoting the Hadith of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that if it's been licked by a dog, a bowl has been licked by a dog, then it can be washed 7 times, and once with earth, and then it's clean. So that wasn't a problem for him. You can see what Hind binti Numan was getting at here. So anyway, it's here. It's the story becomes apocryphal, and obviously is an Abbasid version of events, because as Sir Richard Burton has noted in his translation of the 1001 Nights, the ridicule that Al-Hajjaj was subsequently subjected to he would never have agreed. Abdul Malik valued him much too much, that's the words of Sir Richard Burton, to subject him to such ridicule. So when he quoted this hadith, Abdul Malik bin Marwan, the Caliph, quoted this hadith, then Hind binti Numan didn't have much choice in the matter, and she agreed to the proposal, but she said, I've got a condition. And it is that Al-Hajjaj should lead the camel on which my litter is placed, and he should lead me to Damascus. And obviously Abdul Malik bin Marwan would never have subjected Al-Hajjaj, his governor, to such ridicule. And so this is clearly apocryphal, and it's just a story in order to ridicule and in order to put Al-Hajjaj to shame. So what we see here is, an apocryphal version of events in order to ridicule somebody from somebody who has an axe to grind, in this case the Abbasids, who had an axe to grind as far as Al-Hajjaj bin Yusuf was concerned. So one needs, under these circumstances, consider, that that Abbasid version of events is one's source. So then one needs a seasoned journalist or a seasoned muhaddith or a seasoned, person. In this case, that person was Sir Richard Burton, who could see through this version of events and realize that it was clearly apocryphal, and so can put things into context. So this is what one needs in journalism, and also in this in the case of Hadith, this function was performed by the muhaddiths, the people who compiled and the people who compiled Hadith, and this function, and a good journalist will also do that. He will weed out he will separate the chaff from the grain, and he will work out, what is reputable, what is authentic, what is true, and what is not. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.